an association level, or whether it's in our communities, helping one another through outreach, through the hospitals, the food pantries. Certainly, there's some great ideas out there to get masks for our healthcare workers. It's been such an incredible, humbling, and wonderful experience. And I think that everyone should really, really give themselves a big applause for the incredible work that everybody's just trying to do. We've learned, and we're still learning how to master technology and gain some insights on how we can use the technology to further our messages out there. And I think that as we are continuing to learn in a COVID-19 environment, we are going to now go into the second phase of this hysteria, and that is now to bring that value proposition that we've always had in a different way to our consumers who wish to want to do business with our companies. And it's a very hard thing to sell somebody's house over a Zoom call or a virtual meeting. It's very hard to list a property over a FaceTime introduction with your seller whom you've never met in person. It's a very hard thing to keep in touch with spheres of influence when you're under an order by your governor that you cannot call people or circle prospect. It's a very hard thing mentally for agents, period, who are either suffering the loss of a loved one, or a loved one is in the hospital and they can't meet them, or just interaction with our relatives in general who are quarantined like us. It's a transition. It's a time when we all feel that when we feel essential, non-essential, relevant, non-relevant. Today, Robert and I are going to show you how to be relevant in a COVID-19 environment. And we both have some great ideas on what we're doing so that maybe you can take one nugget or two away from this webinar and bring it back to either your respective clientele, your offices, or your colleagues in the business, because sharing is caring. And we want to make sure that when all of this is over, we'll be very, very ready to be prepared to engage further into our business. We shouldn't stop engaging in our business now simply because we're quarantined. That's the first lesson of this whole webinar here today.
Yep.
Robert is still doing business. I'm still doing business, and we're going to show you how you can still be relevant to your community, your clientele, etc.
Yeah, what I want to add is where I'm an insurance agent, financial services is essential. Don't think that you guys have it any worse than us not really essential businesses. We're pretty much shut down just like you guys. Our office is open. We have 3 people here, but we're not letting anybody in. People aren't buying cars. We all know what's going on with the houses. We are basically spending all of our time reaching out to our current customers, reaching out to our prospects, reaching out to our partners that we do business with, just to stay in front of everybody, because we can't just, I can't believe how many times I go on and I see people that are rearranging their closets or cleaning their basements or renovating or stuff like that, when there's a lot of people who are at home right now and they're looking for information. And you know what? Not for nothing, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are looking here and looking at places like the Carolinas and Florida and saying, do I really want to be sticking around when this thing is opened up, and be part right in the middle? I mean, we went through 2008, we were the center, 9/11, we were the center, here with COVID-19, we're right in the middle of everything. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that are really considering whether this is where they want to be and whether they want to be looking at moving. And, you know, you're the ones that are out there that can give them that advice. So you want to just stay in front of these people to make sure that when they do start thinking about selling their house, that you're the one that they're going to be thinking about. And that's what really Joe is kind of, you know, saying about being relevant. You know, if you're just cleaning your basement, nobody's going to really know that, you know, when this thing opens up, that you're selling houses as well.
So my first lesson here today is, all right, now that we've spoken to our spheres of influence, now that we've kept in touch, do we just make that one phone call and set it and forget it type of a deal? No, I think that what you have to keep doing is checking in with your spheres of influence, check in with that past customer, past client, or present customer, present client, and to really be more of a caring nature. You know, first, by the way, I've neglected to mention before, and I just want to quickly acknowledge, but we have some associations here from the Greater Syracuse Association. We have members of the Greater Syracuse Association. We have members of the Rochester Association here with us, and I just want, and the Long Island Board of Realtors here. I noticed our attendees, and I hope you get really great value, because this is applicable to your business no matter where you are. So getting back to some pointers of relevancy, yes, we can call our spheres of influence, we can call them, but I want to revert back to something that I've been seeing. I'm a big history buff. During World War II, there were two great leaders and there were many great leaders, but two that stand out in my mind that is relevant to some things that are today, that we should be doing today. One was FDR, right? Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And the next one was Winston Churchill, and how they kept their countries, their respective countries, at bay with what was going on with the war, and well informed with information. They had this calming presence about them. They called them fireside chats. Whether FDR sat by his fireplace and gave people a calming voice behind all that hysteria, or Winston Churchill would get on the radio and he would have his nightly radio address to the people of England. They both came from a comforting level. And I think that's what we need to do with our clientele, is to comfort our clientele. Our voice has to be that of not hysteria. And if I say to my client, Mr. Smith, hey, Mr. Smith, you know, how's it going with you? How's everything going? And he goes, oh, what do you think is going on? Blah, blah, blah. And he starts yelling and screaming because he's venting emotionally to how he's handling the situation. But I'm not going to turn around and go back and go, well, Mr. Smith, let me tell you about my life. Blah, 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 blah. And I start yelling. That's not going to help the situation. That's only going to infuriate us both. It's probably going to make us both crazy. And probably Mr. Smith doesn't want to hear from me the day after or 2 days after. So what I would suggest everyone do is to come from that comforting, softer, kinder, gentler tone, rather than, you know, meet them and greet them at their frustration level. You know, one of our colleagues in the business, and I invited her here from the Staten Island Board of Realtors. Her name is Tracy Cangiano. And for those of you who don't know her, she's a great girl. She always speaks her mind. She's one of our NYSAR directors in New York State. And she developed with her daughter, while quarantined, of course. And this is a businesswoman who owns her own company, and she's doing fantastic, still being relevant in her business. But on the side, she developed a Facebook page called Quarantine Kitchen as a way of uniting or bringing together people, whether she knew them or don't know. She developed a page that has, I believe now, over 13 or 12 or 13,000 members. And they're all sharing their their nightly meal, what they developed in recipes, and people are asking, what is the recipe? My wife included. We joined the page, and my wife made a beautiful carrot cake last week, right? And everybody on that, and from scratch with I think my wife made it with cheese frosting, and
Oh yeah, the cream cheese frosting.
cream cheese
Yeah.
frosting. That's it. Homemade. Everything was from scratch, right? And everybody wanted to know the recipe. It had over 225 likes, and I don't know how many comments, but there were people there that looks delicious, right? I said to myself, in social media, because I'm a very big social media guy, as Robert knows, I do a lot of video and I do a lot of likes and postings and everything, because in my business, in order to stay relevant, whether there's a virus or not, people still need to see you doing things. So here is a realtor that's developed a page, and when you know that I'm guessing she's probably gotten some business out of that one page. So whether you do something on a business level, on a personal level, people still need to know that we are still human in this crisis, that we have a human side. And if they saw your human side and they know how you're handling it from a comforting fireside chat corner, then they would probably or want to connect with you faster, rather than you turning around saying, you know, my business isn't great. Hey, can you help me out with somebody who's looking to buy, rent, or sell? The public doesn't need that script right now. What they need is your human side. And that's the point I'm trying to make with this, the first step of showing relevancy. On a business side, I know this gentleman right to my next box here. I feel like the Brady Bunch. I'm looking over like, here's our man, Robert Zabbia. He's in his business. Here is a gentleman who invests. If you know him very well, those of you who have been to chapter meetings, association meetings, I'm plugging his business because when I think of Zabbia Agency, I think of that personal touch, that personal warmth, that guy that's going to come out, not just give you a doohickey little giveaway, and beg for business, because that's not Robert. Robert says, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And then give you that little giveaway. But it's something that he's created, that he's branded himself to me. And that's why we're here, because, we're not only just friends, but we're business associates where we're going to recommend each other. And, this year, was it this year, or was it the end of last year? Robert has a great product for all realtors. And I want him to talk about this product because going forward, in our business, there's going to be issues of liability. And New York Association of Realtors came out with a disclosure form yesterday on the COVID-19. Was it yesterday? No, Tuesday. I'm sorry, I'm losing my days. On showings and how the seller, the buyer can sign off. And if we go to show a house right now, the governor said, no, you can't do that. But if we go to, there's liability. If I go into even an empty house and I try to take customers into an empty house, and even though it's empty, what's to say that the seller who may get COVID-19 virus after he visits his house, or even the buyer says, hey, I got a virus because I was with you in the house. And even though we had a mask, even though we had gloves, I still caught the virus. So there's a liability there. And I would like Robert to talk about that liability, because that's what he does. That's my trusted vendor, my trusted partner in business.
Oh, so thanks, Joe. So basically what was happening before all this happened is LIBOR came to me, a couple of the chapter presidents, a couple of people at the same time, because it's something that popped up recently, was that the realtors are 1099 contractors and they're getting sued. And the brokers' policies aren't extending to the individual realtors. So LIBOR asked me to put together a program because the policies are usually about $1,500 a year to get a policy for a broker. So what we did is we went to Allstate and said, hey, we have 25,000 Long Island Board of Realtor members that are interested in this product. And for under $500 a year, we can get you $1 million worth of liability. So again, it wasn't even anything that I didn't come to LIBOR looking to sell it. It's something that, you know, they approached me and said, hey, can we help? And I looked around, I shopped around to several different carriers, and we were able to find out that, you know, Allstate was really the best option because they wanted to do something for a group. So basically what was happening before this happened was somebody would trip and fall down the stairs and sue the listing broker, sue the person that's running the open house. Some, you know, they would sue everybody, including the individual realtor. And the broker's covered, the homeowner's covered, but the individual realtor wasn't. So that's why we came up with this policy to help you out. And yes, now with the virus situation, there's just another, you know, opportunity for you to face being sued in case there's any kind of liability. Somebody gets sick, they could say that, you know, it's your fault. The only thing the policy doesn't cover is if you have to pay a fine. Insurance policies don't extend to paying fines, but it does cover the biggest thing that it really covers, because in most of these cases, the homeowner policy is gonna pay, but the biggest thing it covers is the cost of the attorney. So the way I look at it is do you want to spend $400, $500 a year, or do you want to spend $400 or $500 an hour? Because if something happens, that's what you're gonna, even if it's a baseless lawsuit, you're gonna have to hire an attorney to protect you. So yeah, Joe was actually one of the first people to sign up for it because of what he does with the listings and his exposure. And that's really, you know, so if you have any kind of assets, it's something that you really should look at getting into it. We could do it on a monthly payment, so it's not a killer, or you could pay it up in full. You get a little bit of discount if you do that.
Now, I have a question about that. Now, this liability, would it cover an instance like, you know, COVID-19, since we are living in a COVID-19 environment?
Well, yeah, it covers negligence. So if somebody says you were negligent, but you brought somebody in and you didn't test them for COVID-19, I mean, what realtor would be testing people, their prospective buyers or sellers? But you didn't take the proper precautions, so I'm suing you for $1 million. That's, yes, it does cover you for that.
See, I'm glad I got that insurance now.
Yeah.
I really am. And, you know, since we are talking or addressing here today, Robert, several associations in upstate New York, just to give them a little bit of an insight, would you cover those?
Yes,
members?
We can set up the same exact program for any association. It's something that basically there's only 2 places in the U.S. that are doing it right now. The Malibu Board of Realtors out in California and the Long Island Board of Realtors. Those are the only 2 that have this right now. But I'm the person that brought it to Allstate. So anybody in New York, if any of the associations in New York want to do it, I can easily just get a code for the members for that chapter and get them the policy discount code.
That's great. And I have to tell you, there was a vendor of the Long Island Board of Realtors, a trusted partner, an affiliated partner, and also my trusted partner that I would highly recommend to all of you for this type of insurance. When I saw it, it was quick and easy, painless, and the policy was sent to me, and I have it now as part of my my insurance, and I'm very happy that I took it, especially now with these empty houses that people are saying we can't even go out there, can't show. But there are agents out there showing, and there are agents out there going into, you know, all of New York State. The governor says all of New York State, all of New York State. In that NYSAR disclosure form, especially, there's a highlight there. You cannot show it. You got to be, you know, home as an essential virtual agent. So let's talk about virtual agents and what virtual agents can and cannot do. First of all, we talked about, wait, should we answer a question? I think there's a question.
Yeah. What are the average costs for the policy? So David, the policy down here on Long Island is under $500 a year. If you're upstate New York, I think it would only be about 200 or 300, depending on what part of New York you're in.
He's in Syracuse, New York.
He's in Syracuse, so yeah, up there it would be under 300. It would probably be somewhere around $300 a year. We have, I guess, our attorneys down here are a little bit more aggressive than the ones up there, so there's more
See,
lawsuits.
David Manzano Sr., I brought you somebody who's got $199 he just saved you, because I paid $499 for that.
Yeah, so yeah,
Not
we could definitely
fair
do it
that I
upstate
live
New York.
here. Not fair.
So well, it's all by zip code. So what I would do is, you could just give me a call and we could set that up and run a quote for you, and it's by zip code.
Okay. I'm glad that you answered that question for David Manzano. Good family, a very good company up there in Syracuse called My Town Realty. I'm making a plug for Manzano Jr., who also is on the David Manzano Jr., who's also here with us, and Nancy Quigg. So I want to talk about virtual. How do you stay relevant in a world where people are not too familiar with technology and this whole idea of listing and selling from your house? So listings, I know a lot of agents here on Long Island that have taken listings simply by having the owner take their phone or their laptop and have given them a tour of their home, and the homeowner wants to sell their house, and this is done in a lot of phases. So you can't just take it and say to yourself, okay, now what? You got to just slowly take it. Phase one, let's meet with the homeowner. So I met with my homeowners here on a Zoom, husband and wife in Belrose, Queens recently, and I asked them if they would take their either cell phone or their laptop and show me the house and direct me through each room, giving me room sizes. I did a full comparative market analysis for them, and I shared my screen with them, and I took them through the process of selling. I gave them my whole listing presentation, and now they've asked me to send them documentation, and I've enlisted myself with a couple of programs such as Adobe, and I've given them digital signatures through our association. We have member links. This would be a great time for every agent to master those programs and to learn how to use those programs. So now you're accomplishing one thing and another. You're being, proactive in trying to learn and master your technology while you're offering this opportunity to speak like this with your future clientele. No one said we can't do this. They just said we can't do this, right? So when we realtors, I don't know, Robert, I don't know if you've already experienced it or discovered it, but we realtors try to kind of look for angles in our business. When we have a big problem, we go like this, we go right around it and try to see if there's a way to still try to service. And I think that comes from the heart, because we're still trying to help our respective communities. So, if you're going to be a virtual agent, you're going to have to know the technology. You're going to have to learn the technology. This is a fantastic time. I don't care what anybody tells me about, I wish I had some continuing ed with that class. Why not go for the professional development? I've been saying this for years, even before the virus and the quarantine. I've been saying, become more of an expert in your community, become more of this, but you got to know what you're doing. You got to know that you have these tools, right? What is your company using as far as technology tools?
Well, we use, we can do Skype meetings with clients. We try to do that so we can do face-to-face as well, because you know how it is. And sales is sales. If you're dealing with somebody face-to-face, it's easier to have a conversation than trying to do it over the phone. So we can do that. We use Zoom. We have been doing, webinars for our clients. We have ones going on for our clients on Social Security and retirement planning, just to help them out through all these. We partner with other companies like Prudential and AXA, Voya, all these companies you see advertising on TV. We partner with them and host webinars, so this way our clients can hear from companies like that to get that kind of information. I'm a huge proponent in what you're saying about training. I have actually, I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm signed up with 2 different coaches for training my staff, and they're required every day to do 10 minutes of video training and 2 days a week of role playing. And then we also do our own internal, we used to do meetings in the conference room. Now we're doing Zoom meetings with my team, and we're doing some role playing as well, because it's very important to win. I'm not a Yankees fan, but why do the Yankees win all the time? They practice. They don't just go out and try and swing the bat. They're constantly practicing. They're honing their skills. They're making themselves better. And
I wish the Mets would take a little bit of that from the Yankees and keep practicing, because I'm a Met fan.
Yeah, you and me both. But that's what we need to really do, is take this time. I keep telling my staff, we're not hitting our goals as far as sales and signing up new customers, because nobody wants to make a move right now. But this is the time to get better. This is the time to spend maybe 20 minutes a day on training instead of 10. Reaching out to customers, practicing. Like, I'm listening to my staff's calls now. I never really had the time to do that in the past. Me, I'm always out at live board meetings. I'm never in the office anymore. So, but now what I'm doing is I'm going in, we record all our calls. I go in and I listen to they tell me, hey, listen, this sale didn't go well. Can you listen to my call? Things like that. And then coaching is huge. So if you don't have a coach right now, like somebody like Joe, then you need to get involved, because, if you think you've already mastered it, and Joe, I know Joe has a coach, if not several, but if you think you're the master, then you're on your way down. That's the way I always look at it. So there's always somebody out there that can add value to you. So find those people and learn from them, and implement, because those are the things that successful people do. The successful people aren't always the ones that came up with a great idea. They're the ones that implement it. I mean, McDonald's, there were burgers out way before McDonald's was. They just came up with a better way of getting it out to the public. And now, Chick-fil-A and, all these companies, they're not really innovators. They're just implementing and doing a better job than everybody else. I mean, there was plenty of fried chicken sandwiches out there before Chick-fil-A came along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I have to tell you that, a lot of, it's surprising of how many agents I've been coming across that don't know how to use technology. So by all means, if you're going to, take some time, and when I take some time, I've learned over the last year to time block my day. And that's another thing a lot of agents don't do effectively, is time block. And it's very hard, with some of the agents that are home and they have to be parents and they have to homeschool their kids. And, I give my kids a little bit of a project. They go to their respective rooms, they're not always playing. Some of them are reading, some of them are doing things. You give them a little art project, and now you're able to take like one of these 5-10 minute classes, and you're able to be more effective by being more out there, and now you're going to show that to your client base. And now you're going to say, hey, you know what? Let me show you now how to do this. One tip is Zoom. I know they have 40 minutes or 45 minutes of time lapse. It's only about
you get 40 minutes free. Yeah.
40 minutes free. So I'm a very big, if anybody knows me, I like my favorite 4-letter word is free. So I will always think that if I can get something free, then it's for me. So I know that Microsoft has come out with a new conferencing through Google, and also Google Hangouts is free too, and it's unlimited. Yep. So if you learn Google Hangouts and how to use Google Hangouts, you can have 15, 20, 30 people on a Google Hangout, and it's for free without getting interrupted or, getting that deadline for minutes. How do you learn all these things? I'm in the process of learning how to use a new contact real estate management system. And it's about a 5-minute to 7-minute. And then I think the longest one was 10-minute video. And it's all audio and visual, so that if you're an audio learner or a visual learner, it's both, which is awesome because I'm an audio learner. These are the things that I do, but most importantly, time blocking is very, very essential to your business, especially now that you're in quarantine and you say, well, I wake up, my sleep pattern is different now. I would suggest that your sleep pattern become the normal sleep patterns and your wake up patterns become the normal wake up patterns. And I know it's a lot to ask, especially when somebody's so stressed and somebody's worried. I would advise you, number one, turn off the noise, turn off the news. Don't get so entrenched into the news, so that now your pattern comes back to a little bit of a normalcy. I pretend I go to work every single day. So if it's a matter of putting on a shirt and a jacket and pretending like you're going to work, and you go to one room of your house and make that your work, then start your work day and start time blocking. All right, I'm going to spend 15 minutes here, and I'm going to spend 15 minutes here, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other. I don't know. I couldn't tell anybody what to do. But like this morning, here's my schedule. This morning I woke up, all right, I woke up at 6:30. I did 8 miles on a bike. I showered. I had my coffee. I had 8:30 to 9 a.m. role play with Buyer role plays, right, which I love to do with my team. And then at 9 o'clock, I had a meeting. Boom. So I knew from 9 to 10, I had a meeting, from 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and here we are. See,
Yeah,
and I'm still going on.
that's crucial. When I first started working out of college, my boss was in Hartford, Connecticut, and my company was in California. And that was the earliest lesson I learned, because it's real easy when you have nobody sitting there. You don't have to clock in or anything. It's real easy to be sitting in your pajamas all day long, and all of a sudden it's 3 o'clock and all you've done is watch TV and eat breakfast and lunch. So yeah, you need to get into a routine. Even here, my staff, I do the same thing with them. It's like, okay, you're on an hour of outbound calls, 2 hours of inbound calls, an hour of training. Set your schedule up, and plan. Even your busy work. You need to schedule your busy work, because otherwise it just piles up. So yeah, now it's crucial to be setting up a schedule to make sure that you know exactly what you're going to be doing when, so that way you're not just wasting the day away.
Yeah, I did not discover, I do admit this, I didn't discover really time blocking, effective time blocking, until I was probably 2-3 years ago, about 2-3 years ago. And it goes back to an old trainer of mine, or an old mentor of mine 30 years ago in the business, taught me time blocking, and I didn't even know what I was learning. He didn't call it time blocking, but he had a quote, he had a phrase. He used to say, I must do the most productive thing possible at every given moment. And that was Tom Hopkins,
Yep.
who I call the grandfather of real estate. So I'm going to take a page from Tom Hopkins and his book, Act Like a Lamb, Sell Like a Lion. And in that book is that phrase, I must do the most productive thing possible at every given moment. And that's something that I strongly suggest every agent do, whether it's something on a business level or something on a personal level. I got to tell you, yesterday at dinner, my wife and I was sitting there with the kids, and I said, this day completely flew by. Now, if you're not feeling that feeling right now, then you're doing something you're not doing something right in that time blocking. Because when you time block, your day completely flies by. That feeling you got when you did go to the office, and you're like, where did the day go? That's how I felt yesterday and the day before. I'm experiencing something different than a lot of the realtors that are out there that are not, getting this whole issue of time blocking, because they're so focused on when is my business going to get back to normal. Guys, I got news for you. I said this at the South Shore chapter meeting this morning for the Long Island Board of Realtors. We have to act and feel like our business is still here. And for our membership, we have to stay, as if everything is normal with a little bit of a tweak. that we're here. We're here inside. So we have to start utilizing, thank God, right, Robert? We have this technology that we can use social media, and we can use technology as as a way of satisfying, if you will, or filling in the gap. Because if I didn't have this and I didn't have the social media, then I would probably have to do something else, right? It's survival of the fittest.
Yeah, exactly. Social media is a total game changer, I think, for everybody. And, but it's also something I think people use not in the best way. It's not a media to sell on. It's a
Right.
media to share who you are, like you said, the cooking idea, that's a great one. I love that.
Yeah.
We do all different posts on our business page that's sharing information. We're not, defensive driving classes at a discount. We're doing that where you can take the class from home now for
Are
$20.
you doing that in your
Yeah.
business? Really?
Yep. So
So for those of you who need defensive driving and you got to put it off in November, do it now.
yeah,
Get
do it
it over
now.
with.
This is the time to do stuff like that. So
What
yeah,
else are you
social
doing?
media is huge. What's that?
What else are you doing in your business?
We're doing like we had everybody who's working from home take a picture of their coworkers. So we had pictures of the dogs and the kids and and all of that. And that was like one of our biggest posts of the year. That's the kind of stuff people want to know about you. That's not, what do you, can you sell my house? It's who are you? People like to deal with business they like and trust. And you have to make sure that you get out there who you are and why they should like and trust you.
When all of this is over, one of the things that stands out in my head is the quote. I'm going to say Zig Ziglar said it. People don't care how much you know until you show them how much you care.
Yep.
And I think that if you don't show people how much you care now, when all of this is over, people are going to remember all the people that reached out to them, the people that took that time to bring them something of, that they could use now. And I have people calling me right now asking me, well, do you think I should sell my house? Do you think we've been toying around with it? We want to buy a house. We want to rent this house. The rentals are for downstate are going nuts here on Long Island because there's still people moving as if nothing is happening. But yet we have to show our consumers right now that through this essential, non-essential feeling that we've been mandated by our governor to act upon, we have to now say, okay, I can't physically show you this, but I'm going to set up either a virtual showing for you. We're going to do a Zoom. I have a rental going on right now where the landlord wants to interview the tenant over a Zoom. I mean, I would have never thought of something like that. So now landlords are sharing with me some great ideas that I'm using and implementing in my business. Do you see what's happening right now? And Robert and I were talking about this before we got on here, that the whole landscape, the whole business landscape, the whole business environment is changing. My friend David Manzano Jr., who's on the call with us, I said to him, I said, listen, why wait for me to come up to Syracuse to do a presentation to your office? I'll do it over Zoom. Let's utilize what we have here. Keep all our agents in your company motivated and engaged, and then they can get something of a professional development so that when business does open, when David puts the key in the door and opens up My Town Realty, the physical location, then those agents will be better prepared than what they are doing now. And they are working from their houses. They are doing things that are necessary. But now we need to keep them engaged. We need to keep agents out there wondering, not wondering so much when is going to happen. It's now. It's happening now. And that's what we're not getting, right? The real estate community, business community in general is not getting that business is happening now, but in a different way. It's a different mindset. It's a different, and I think that will keep everybody, more and more, calmer, more and more, our consumers don't understand that we can't show houses. That's what's going on right now. but I'm not going to put myself at risk. I don't want to call Rob and say, hey, you know what? I'm being sued. Let's exercise that liability policy you gave me last year. You sold me last year. I don't want to do that. But I certainly don't want to put myself at risk. You can only get this virus once or twice, but the first time you might die. That's the reality. And I don't want to die, So I don't want to put myself at risk, and I certainly don't want my colleagues to put themselves at risk.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Like I said before, is we need to be ready. I'm an optimist. So I personally believe that once things open up, people are going to go gangbusters. There's a high percentage of our people here in New York are still working. They might be working from home, but there's still a high percentage that I know are saving a ton of money because they're not spending anything. So there's going to be a lot of movement with, like I said, people who are looking at upgrading, people who are looking at downgrading. Now they're sitting in their house and they're realizing how much wasted space they have, and they really should get out of that house and get something smaller. And you know what? I only live once. Maybe we should move by the water or something like that. So I personally believe that we're going to be in a quick rebound. I think it's going to be gradually opening up. We're not going to be wide open and in concerts on May 15th. But I think, the doors will open. People that can work from home, they'll still be asked to work from home. But a lot of those businesses that were forced to shut will be allowed open with the proper, precautions, like for realtors, masks, gloves, sanitizer, things like that. So we're going to have to be ready to do things in a different way that might be uncomfortable. And we need to get used to that now. We can't be waiting till May 15th to be ready to do this, or June 1st, whatever the date is going to end up being. We need to prepare ourselves now. This is preseason, folks.
I'm glad you said that. Like when you said May 15th, we don't even know if it's going to be May 15th. We don't even know what if this goes to June 15th? What if it goes to July 15th? I mean, does that put a little bit more perspective for people to say, oh, you know what? Maybe I should be doing some of the things that Robert and Joe are suggesting, because I don't care what anybody says. There's only so much you can clean your closets or rearrange your drawers here. If your consumer is worried about what's happening in the future, then so should you. And so should, we all should be worried about it, but we should also take steps to become more and more out there. Like the topic of today's conversation, we should be taking more steps to become more relevant, so that we could show them that we're actually doing something. I taught a class in my company on Monday. And to show relevancy, I said, if you stop branding yourself on social media, if you don't put one video out, one piece out a week, people are going to know, well, Joe stopped working. Joe is not a real estate agent as of right now when I need him, and if Joe is not, he's not in front of my face. And where are people turning their attention to rather than the TV? They're going toward Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, and I don't know if I mentioned, YouTube, right? They're going to all these places for some form, just so you know, of entertainment. It's become like the new television, right? So if I'm not there and I'm not putting out one piece, at least one thing a day, something different around all of those buttons, I call them, then I'm not staying relevant. I'm not staying visible. And my consumer, my customer, my client can't find me. My past client can't find me. My present client can't find me. Anybody who is looking to refer me can't find me. My referrals can't find me. You know how much business that is? So when business becomes unlimited, it's because it's there. And I am able to take it, advantage, and the opportunities are so unlimited right now. And that message, I wanted to bring that message out here today, so that, I brought it out to some group of people on Monday. And when I thought about what Facebook should represent, like Robert said just now, it shouldn't represent an avenue of venting. People are going to screw up no matter what they do. People are always going to look at the Monday morning or become the Monday morning quarterback and say, "Hey, we should have done this." I'm not interested in what they're doing. All I want to know is what I'm doing, how I can be effective, how I can verbally, become more engrossed in the conversation that I'm having with me and my clientele, my consumer right now. That's what's important. And if I don't show some sort of visibility in this social media, like my assistant Connor says, I got nothing. I got nothing. Imagine if somebody says to you, ask you a question, Robert, and you go, I got nothing. Would they use you ever again? But if you know what you're doing and you can at least, we're all going through the same thing. That's there are differences in how we're going through them. Obviously I get that, but the underlying theme is that we're all here and going through, and we're just trying to help one another. We're trying to help each other plateau and get to another level and adapt to a different type of whatever we're doing.
Yeah, and I have realtor partners who are still referring me people who are buying houses. So it's still happening. It's not completely, yes, it slowed down ridiculously, but I still have these people, or these partners of mine are still referring me their clients to help them with their home and flood insurance because I'm staying in front of them. I'm doing things like this, sending out emails. I'm, keeping up on Facebook. So it's the same thing for you. The beautiful thing about what I do is that insurance policies renew every 6 months or a year. So with auto insurance, I got twice a year crack to get out, and with home insurance, I got once a year. Same thing with business insurance. But when you're looking at somebody who's buying or selling a house, you're looking I think the average is 7 years people move. Yeah. I mean, I've been in my house 20 years. So, nobody's got another crack at me for a long time because I'm not going anywhere. But for the average, I think it's 7 years. So it's very important. You don't want to miss out on that opportunity because somebody just didn't think of you. And staying relevant and staying out there, just staying in their face is the way to do it. That's what keeps me busy with my realtor and mortgage partners, is staying in front of them. That's why I do all the meetings and I try to add value because, they got a million insurance agents calling on them saying, hey, I can get your clients the best insurance rates for their home insurance. That's not what I'm about. I'm about relationships. And I think that's realtors. I know when I purchased my house, I went with the one that I connected with. I had a ton of realtors try to get us into a house when my wife and I got married. And we went with the one that we connected with, the one that was listening to us, the one that was, that brought us to the houses that we wanted to, the one that apologized when she brought us to a house that was a total, nightmare and she didn't know it, but, she was told the wrong information, right. But it was fun. Like we laughed, and the funny thing is we went to one house twice. We didn't even know it. We went with one realtor and then we went back and we're like, wow, this looks familiar. And the woman opened the door. It's like, oh, well, and she apologized. She had no idea. And that's the kind of stuff that people make these decisions when they buy. It's, they're going to choose a realtor based off of somebody that they feel connects with them because they're making the most important business decision and or personal decision in their life in buying a house. So that's a huge investment. So it's very important to, number one, be yourself. Don't try to be something else. There's certain people that just don't click with certain people and you just got to move on. But it's very important to be yourself and let people know who you are. More so than, how you're a better realtor than the next person. You just let them know who you are and and you listen to them. I think it was Hopkins said, you have 2 ears and one mouth, use them in proportion.
That's right.
In sales. So, so I think, if you get out there and let people know who you are, and then when you talk to them, listen to them, I think that's very important right now because like you said, somebody gets all frustrated. You talk to people who are really, really honestly afraid of this virus and what's going on. And they're criticizing everybody who wants to open things up again because they have a true fear. Don't argue with them about it.
Yeah, let's write a new book called Mastering the Art of Listening.
Yeah.
let's listen a little bit more. Let's have those meaningful conversations. You know, one of my mentors in my company, his name is Dr. David Reese. He spoke to me about, I want to say about a month ago, about joy and peace and feeling this comfort level, this happiness, this sense of, you know, euphoric being, you know, and connecting with people on a much, higher level, but of experiencing this overwhelming joy, you know, and where we are all living in a negative and feelings of negative and having all these frustrations. We'll have our moments, yes. I have my moments, yes. My wife has her moments, yes. Everybody has that. But if we don't experience the opposite of what we are, like the 7 o'clock call tonight, when we all come out on our porches and we give our healthcare workers an applause, you know, the feeling of joy right there in my little girls when they're banging the pots and they don't really understand fully. And thank God, you know, there's a little innocence that I see every night in that, you know, or the neighbors looking at each other and waving at the nurse's family that lives on our block while we're doing that, or my neighbor taking firecrackers and just throwing it out there and it exploding, or my other neighbor playing New York, New York, or even Born in the USA. Joy, feelings of gratitude, of, you know, I keep a journal here on my makeshift desk in my bedroom here, and writing yesterday for the first time ever. I never did this before, but what I'm truly grateful for. And at the end of the day, I as soon as I started to write it, I filled up an entire page of what I was grateful for. These are things that are pleasurable. These are things that will help mentally stimulate us right now. And we need to work on ourselves, I believe, as my final point of this presentation, is to work on ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually, to understand that faith, hope, and the love, and spreading that joy throughout our businesses, our families, the people that have lost someone, you know, to keep them in our prayers, you know, to show them that we care. This is the kind of stuff that will show up for us when this is all over. And even while this is going on, people are going to remember how you treated them throughout this, how you, as a realtor, as a professional, as Robert is here in his business, people are going to remember you and how you made them feel, and they're going to connect with you now. And there's your relevancy. This is how you show up. See, I want to be able to throw that message out there to every person that's either attending this seminar or looking at this on Facebook or wherever they hear this message. You got to start showing up for your people and for yourselves, and you got to stop wallowing in self-pity, because this is not the time to do so. No time is to do that, but you got to show up, you know, create the best versions of ourselves. You know, when this new year started, 2020, I looked at it as 2020 vision, right? We're still creating that vision. 2020 isn't over simply because a virus took hold of our being and locked us in our homes, and now we can't operate. 2020 is not over, guys. 2020 has just begun. And the vision that we have for the remainder of this into whenever this ends and whenever the new year begins is still going to continue with this sense of joy and peace and caring and this purpose that we need.
Yeah, my kids are very active. My daughter rides and my son plays football and lacrosse, and we're eating dinner together every night. That hasn't happened in years. My wife works in Manhattan, so she's usually, on her way home when the kids are eating dinner, and I usually get home right before her, and a lot of times we're not together at all, and it's making us kind of realize how important that it is to stay in touch and to, to appreciate what you have. I mean, for these juniors and seniors in high school to lose, their spring sports and to lose their proms and their graduations and you know what? They're not complaining about it. It really, it shows like what appreciation is and how good we really do have. Everybody complains about everything. Allstate's given people back refunds for not using their insurance, and all the other insurance companies, followed suit. And people complaining that it's not enough. There was just an article out from some consumer federation that it should be bigger. Well, you know what? When they did it, they didn't know what we're in for as far as the down. So they, as a gesture, they did it, and still people are still complaining it's not enough. I'm not driving my car at all. Why shouldn't I? But a lot of people are reaching out to us and saying, you know what, that's a great thing you did. I appreciate it. And I think that's the difference in the way people are. Be that second group and appreciate whatever you do have. Understand what, what you have and the ability that you have as realtors to make a really good living and really set your family up and, have the opportunity. Yeah, right now it stinks. Everybody's shut down and we can't, show houses and we can't meet with clients. But, once this thing does open up, we do have a huge opportunity to take advantage of it. Yeah, David, exactly. Mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. That's great. It's very important to have a positive attitude and to look at what we can gain out of any situation. Not that we want to gain out of anybody's misfortune. I've lost a couple of really close people to this dreaded disease, and and it hurts. But I'm in a position where my business is essential, and I'm still here. And yeah, income is down, but I'm paying my staff. We're keeping everybody involved, and it's very important to appreciate what you do have. And I could complain to the day is over that, yeah, we're not selling anything and it stinks this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? I got a great client base. Our customers appreciate us. They're renewing their policies. It's keeping the lights on, and it's giving us an opportunity to help and grow in the future. And I think right now we can't be thinking of what's happened the past month or what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. We need to look out long term at what changes we can make now to better our lives going forward.
And speaking of, another great idea I was thinking about as you were talking about pushing things off, for us realtors, we can be consulting our clientele. There are some mortgage companies there. I just got a call from my mortgage company. I'm able to defer 3 months worth of payments on the back end of my mortgage so that I don't now have to worry about my mortgage now till July. So that was one of the good ideas that I had, and I was able to talk and have a conversation. Like when you say, what are we going to talk about with our clientele? Hey, have you heard that some mortgage companies are doing this? Maybe you should look into your mortgage company, because you know what's going to happen next. People are going to be short selling their homes. And why should they have to short sell their homes when government is giving them that opportunity not to do so for the future? Everybody is scared, guys. Everybody is scared, but if you notice, they're all making plans. They all have a plan. So if you don't have a plan for your consumer, try to design a plan and suggest. I'm not saying, because we have an insurance guy here with liability, I'm not suggesting that you give the advice. I'm saying, give that advice as far as suggesting that they look into it rather than be proactive of doing it, right?
Yep. So we're at 1 o'clock, so I want to honor everybody's time. I want to thank Joe. This was awesome. I did record it, so I think we missed the first couple of seconds because I thought it automatically started recording. But we will post this on our social media. So again, thank you, Joe, so much. I do have a couple of my...
Thank you to the associations that have come on here, Syracuse, Rochester, Long Island Board. These are all colleagues of ours, and I hope you got a nugget or two here. And hopefully we could do this again, Robert.
Yes, definitely. Actually, I have one. There was we're thinking about doing one of the mortgage companies wants to talk about how to help people, with this. So I think that would be a good way to do like a 3-way call with them and set something up. So that would, this way the realtors will have from the mortgage company, and we can bring in a trusted partner that we know. So if you have any ideas, please send me an email, send Joe an email. If you want to hear us talk about something, if your associates want to hear us talk about something, please let us know. We're just trying to give information out that we can help people out with. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, David. They both chatted on here. Thanks everybody for coming on. We really appreciate it. And again, thank you, Joe.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, bye-bye.